Hello and welcome. You're watching World Business Report here on News 9. I'm your host, Suyash Maheshwari. Now, bringing 2023 to a resounding close, the Wall Street saga culminates on a triumphant note. With an upward surge in the final stretch of the year, the markets rallied, painting a portrait of optimism and vigor as the year draws its curtain. Investors witnessed a crescendo of positive momentum, fostering anticipation and hopes for the forthcoming financial landscape. Take a look.
U.S. stocks extended their rally on Tuesday, kicking off the final week of 2023 with expectations that the Federal Reserve will begin cutting interest rates as soon as March. All three major U.S. stock indices rose in low-volume trading. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 both climbed about 0.4%, and the Nasdaq gained 0.5 point. All three are on track for monthly, quarterly, and annual gains and seem buoyed after making it through 2023 without a major contraction. Adam Coons is the chief portfolio manager at Winthrop Capital Management.
Equity markets today are really just kind of coming off of this Christmas lull where we did have a Santa Claus rally leading up into the Christmas holiday. Fed policy has kind of become more known, and so it's more stable. So I think we'll just end the year fairly quietly, on low volatility. So we may tick up a little bit higher just on low volume, but we don't see any real big moves coming up through the rest of the week.
The S&P 500 is on track to post its biggest quarterly gain in 3 years and is within 1% of its all-time closing high reached in January 2022. Energy shares on Tuesday enjoyed the heftiest percentage gain, boosted by surging crude prices as Middle East strife ratcheted up supply concerns, while optimism over Fed rate cuts fueled demand hopes. Graycell Biotechnologies surged more than 60% after AstraZeneca said it will buy the China-based firm for up to $1.2 billion. And Intel Corp advanced 5.2% following the Israeli government's agreement to endow a $3.2 billion grant for a $25 billion plant the chipmaker plans to build in southern Israel.
Now, as economic indicators fluctuate, Adam Coons, Chief Portfolio Manager at Winthrop Capital Management, highlights the potential risks associated with a cautious approach to cutting interest rates. Listen into what he has to say.
Fed policy is really driven by the consumer right now, and that's because inflation has been propped up through consumer spending. But now that we've started to see that slow down, that's why we've seen inflationary numbers come down quite a bit. And that's what's given rise to this idea that the Fed might cut rates sooner than what a lot of people originally thought. So really what that's going to be driven by is economic growth. And the problem is that the consumer rolls over, they're spending less because they don't have that excess, discretionary spending that will continue to push inflation down. So if the Fed doesn't cut rates, that might even accelerate, because with the Fed keeping interest rates high, that does put a squeeze on credit markets. That means there's less lending, and a lot of money creation is created through lending. If that's not happening, that will contract the economy. The hard part here is how far do you go and before you actually push it too far? And one of our worries is that actually the Fed may be slower to decrease interest rates through the cycle, because if you think about the fact that when we were on the other side of the cycle, when inflation was picking up, they were very slow to react there, using transitory over and over again, and did not raise interest rates until it was extremely clear that there was a problem. So we think we're going to see something similar here, where you're going to see the economy may roll over, but the Fed isn't going to be quick to react. They're going to really make sure that this is taken hold and that we're not going to see some second phase of inflation. And so that might actually push the economy into a worse position where, and this would be a low probability event, but it is possible if they push too far, you could actually see deflation, which we haven't seen in a very, very long time. That's kind of what Japan has been dealing with for about 3 decades. And so that would actually be a worse position to be in than excess inflation.
Now, amid the legal ramifications of the import ban, Apple initiates an appeal in an ongoing battle to overturn the restrictions on Apple Watch imports. Now, the commencement of this legal process unfolds against a backdrop of heightened tensions as the tech giant aims to protect its market presence and challenge regulatory decisions. Take a look at this Reuters report.
A U.S. trade ban on imports of Apple Watches went into effect Tuesday, and Apple said it had filed an appeal. It's the result of a patent dispute between Apple and a medical technology company. A firm called Masimo filed a complaint accusing Apple of hiring away its employees, using its patented technology for reading blood oxygen levels, and incorporating that tech into the Apple Watch. The U.S. International Trade Commission ruled in Masimo's favor in October, and a ban on Apple Watch imports was set to go into effect on December 26th. U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai, a member of President Joe Biden's cabinet, declined to overrule that ban. Apple has included the pulse oximeter feature in its smartwatches starting with its Series 6 model in 2020. In a statement released Tuesday, Apple said, quote, "We strongly disagree with the U.S. ITC decision and resulting exclusion order, and are taking all measures to return Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 to customers in the U.S. as soon as possible." An Apple spokesperson confirmed the company has appealed the ban to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington. Apple had already paused its sales of its Series 9 and Ultra 2 smartwatches in the United States last week, though the watches remain available from other retailers including Amazon, Best Buy, and Walmart as of Tuesday. The ban does not affect Apple Watch SE, a less expensive model, which will continue to be sold. Previously sold watches will not be affected by the ban.
Following the ban on Apple Watch devices, Managing Director of Wedbush Securities, Daniel Ive, underscores its broader impact as a public relations setback for the United States. Now remember, the ban is likely to pose challenges for Apple and will reflect negatively on the country's trade policies, potentially influencing consumer sentiment and global perception. Take a look.
It's the small guy beating the big guy, going up against the tech bully in terms of the way it's viewed. This patent issue with Masimo, they were hoping Apple, that the U.S. government, the Biden administration, would ultimately reverse this in terms of what's been happening on the Apple Watch. Instead, they did not. They did not veto it, which is why Apple needed to appeal. Look, this is a PR black eye more than a financial black eye for Apple. But if they don't stop here, it could expand and be a brush fire. Apple essentially, in the eyes of this vendor, took its patents and basically violated it. Apple, they need to stop the dam from overflowing, because if this continues, this could become a water issue and others could jump into patent lawsuits versus Apple.
Now, as the year 2024 is set to kick in, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un praised what he called achievement and victories that strengthened national power and boosted the country's prestige this year, as he opened a key political meeting to a new policy goals for the coming year. The first day of the meeting saw discussions on 6 major agendas, including this year's policy and budget implementation, a draft budget for 2024, and way to bolster the party's leadership. Listen in.
조선노동당 총비서이신 경애하는 김정은 전원회의에 참석하셨습니다. 노동당 중앙위원회 정치국 위원 후보위원들, 조선노동당 중앙위원회 위원 후보위원들이 회의에 참가했습니다. 당 중앙위원회장 기업소 책임 일꾼들, 우리 농업 생산에서 모범 당 중앙위원회 정치국 위원들로 집행부가 23년 12월 전원회의가 26일 당 중앙위원회에 소집됐습니다. 전원회의를 사회하셨습니다. 보고에서는 당제 8차대 회의에는 2023년도 당 및 국가정책 집행정령 종합화 전원회의는 상정된 의안들을 일치 가결로서 첫째 의정에 대한 토의 사업에 들어갔습니다.
Despite high expectations, a comprehensive report from MasterCard exposes a shortfall in holiday sales figure. The discrepancy between projected and actual sales unveils insights into consumer spending patterns, potentially signaling shift in market trends and economic behavior. Listen to this Reuters report.
Holiday shopping in the United States was lower than expected this year and believed to be held back by pressure on consumers by inflation and interest rates. That's according to a report by MasterCard released Tuesday. The company says it analyzed all types of payment across both online shopping and brick-and-mortar stores. The only thing it says it didn't analyze was car sales. In all, retail sales did rise 3.1% from November 1st through to December 24th. But that was lower than the 3.7% MasterCard expected and a step down from the 7.6% jump it saw in the same period last year. Holiday shopping discounts and promotions at giants Amazon and Walmart also weren't as deep as last year when they were trying to offload excess stock from the pandemic. Some of those discounts were rolled back starting in December when shoppers were expected to buy last-minute gifts on the Saturday before Christmas.
Now, Japan's nuclear power regulator on Wednesday lifted an operational ban it imposed on Tokyo Power Electric's massive Kashiwazaki Kariwa power plant 2 years ago, clearing the path for it to resume process towards a restart. Remember, the plant has been offline since around 2011 when the Fukushima disaster prompted the eventual shutdown of all nuclear power plants in Japan. South Korean actor Lee Sun-yoon, best known for his role in the Oscar-winning film Parasite, was found dead on Wednesday. According to reports, the actor was discovered inside a vehicle at a park in central Seoul. 48-year-old Lee had been under investigation over illegal drug use allegations amid an ongoing government crackdown on drugs.
심력 끼쳐드린 점 다시 한번 진심으로 사과드립니다. 그것 또한 다 솔직하게 제가 기억하고 있는 거 다 사실대로 다 말씀드렸습니다.
오늘 그거에 대해서 어떻게
Et nous avons donc maintenant le plaisir d'accueillir l'équipe de Parasite.
왼쪽 먼저 받으시고요. 오른쪽 받으시고요. 감사합니다.
But with that, let's take a short break, but stay tuned with us as we have many more stories, in fact, from the world arena on the other side.
This was intended to be a terrorist spectacular without precedent.
The plan was to bomb 2 Air India passenger aircrafts simultaneously.
There was a loud explosion and the whole plane just vanished.
The police dropped the ball, the intelligence officers dropped the ball, and the politicians dropped the ball.
It was a conspiracy that destroyed my life. It destroyed 331 lives.
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
Welcome back. You're watching World Business Report here on News 9. Now, in an unexpected turn, reports emerge of a peculiar disruption to a cherished German tradition. The customary Christmas roast goose dinner, an integral part of German holiday celebrations, faces a surprising trend of a decreased participation or altered observance, prompting discussions around the cultural shifts or unforeseen circumstances impacting traditions. Take a look. Now, China implements stringent measures aimed at curbing excessive gaming spendings. The newly introduced regulations seek to rein in extravagant gaming expenses, signaling a shift in the country's approach to entertainment consumption. Take a look.
China has made strict new rules for its multi-billion-dollar gaming industry. Regulators want to curb spending and rewards that encourage video games. Online games will now effectively have spending limits and face bans from giving rewards to players if they log in every day. Rewards also can't be given to anyone who spends on the game for the first time or if they spend several times on the game consecutively. The decision spooked investors and dealt a blow to the world's biggest games market, which returned to growth this year. Shares in gaming giant Tencent were down as much as 16% Friday, while its closest rival NetEase was down by a quarter. Beijing has taken a tough line on video games over the years. It set strict playtime limits for players younger than 18 2 years ago. It also suspended the approval of new video games for about 8 months, citing gaming addiction concerns. Last year was China's gaming industry's most difficult year on record, as total revenue shrank for the first time. The crackdown formally ended in 2022 as new game approvals resumed. China's video game market returned to growth this year as domestic revenue rose 13% to $42.6 billion, according to industry data.
Navigation routes alter as more shippers divert away from the Red Sea, triggering an unexpected surge in oil prices. Now, the strategic rerouting impacts global trade dynamics, highlighting the far-reaching consequences of shifts in maritime navigation. Take a look.
More shipping companies are set to avoid the Red Sea following attacks on merchant vessels by Houthi militants. German container line Hapag-Lloyd is among the latest to say it will steer clear. 25 of its ships will be rerouted before the end of the year. Hong Kong's OOCL is making a similar move. Ships will have to take longer routes to avoid the hotspot, and that could roil supply chains worldwide. The Suez Canal route accounts for about 12% of global trade. Costs will jump too, with the price of shipping a container from China to the Mediterranean up 44% just this month. Experts say anything that is moved by sea, from toys to food and clothing, could be at risk. Concern over disruption to supplies is driving commodity prices higher too. Metals prices rose Friday, as did benchmark oil prices. Crude jumped around 1%, though traders say the impact on supplies should actually be limited. Relatively little oil is shipped through the Red Sea. Much now depends on the International Naval Task Force being set up by Washington. The Pentagon says over 20 countries have signed up to take part, though some did not want to be named. Vessels from the US, British and French navies have already shot down Houthi drones in the area. On Thursday, UK Foreign Minister David Cameron met his Egyptian counterpart to discuss the crisis.
It's absolutely essential that those maritime corridors, that the free movement of ships, of goods, of manufactures, of oil, of world trade, that they keep going.
The crisis grew out of the war between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas, which runs Gaza. Yemen's Houthis have threatened to target all ships heading to Israel in response.
Transport yourself to the heart of Parisian architecture through the delightful and innovative renditions of iconic buildings in the form of U-logs. Experience a tasteful celebration of art and culture through these culinary creations. Experience a festive cheer as Santa Claus takes an enchanting plunge into Rio's vibrant aquarium, adding a whimsical touch to the holiday celebrations. The Merry Fishmas event delights audiences and its unique and joyful spectacle. That's all we have in this edition of World Business Report. This is Suyash Maheshwari signing off.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, that US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.